All right, hi guys. So here are the notes for solving two-step equations so that you can go back and reference. Okay, so we've been doing two-step equations for a few days, and we started off with one step. So you had to go and either add, subtract, multiply, divide. It was only one thing that you were doing. In this case, when we have two-step, there are two things that we are doing in order to solve for the variable. So your goal. The goal of solving any equation is to isolate the variable. So if a variable, for example, is x, x equals what number? That's what I want to know based on the equation. So how you do that? First, you add or subtract the constant term. Okay? The constant is the term that is not attached to the variable. It just hangs out by itself. It's either positive or negative, and there's no variable attached to it. And how you eliminate that is that you use the inverse operation. So inverse, if you don't know what that is, it also means opposite. The opposite operation of what is given. Very simple. Okay? Then the last step is you multiply or you divide to eliminate the coefficient. The coefficient is the number in front of the variable. So if it's 2x, 2 is the coefficient. So there goes inverse again, and that means opposite. Okay, so we're going to dive right in, and we're going to do this first equation. 2x plus 3 equals 15. So the first thing that I like to do is I like to go and just draw a line through the equal sign. So it helps me understand where I'm moving my items and what are those two items that I'm moving, okay? So remember this first step, okay? Isolating the variable. The variable in this case is x, so I want x to equal a number, all right? Now my second step, I'm going to add or subtract the constant term by doing the opposite operation. So we can see this is 2x plus 3 equals 15. The constant is plus 3. So I need to do the opposite of plus 3, which would be subtracting 3. And I'm going to do that on both sides of the equal sign. Okay? Now, 2x, we didn't do anything with it, so I'm just going to bring that down. Now, remember, you can use your calculator. If you have a positive 3 and a negative 3, you combine those together, you're going to get 0. So we are done with that. Equals, now I'm doing 15 minus 3, which is 12. Okay, so now my equation has changed to a one-step equation where I have 2x equals 12. And I want to eliminate, okay, the coefficient, which is 2, okay? In this case, it's 2. It's a number in front of the variable, 2. And I want to do the opposite operation. So this is saying 2x is saying 2 times x. So instead of multiplying, I should be dividing by 2 on both sides of my equal sign. 2 divided by 2 is just going to give me a 1. So there we are. So now that's gone away. Equals, and then 12 divided by 2 is 6. That is an isolated variable. There's nothing else I can do, and that is your answer. Very straightforward. Okay, we'll try it again. And this time, there's a fraction. Don't let these fractions go and get you scared because, you know, remember I keep saying in algebra we use a calculator. So it's really not a big deal, okay? So this next equation, we have 1/2 x plus 5 equals 18. So again, you want to start off with your constant. The constant is the number that you are adding and subtracting. And in this case, it is plus 5. So I have to do the inverse or the opposite operation. So I need to subtract 5 on both sides of my equal sign. Okay? Now the 1/2 x, nothing happened, so we're going to bring it down. And then positive 5 minus 5 gives me 0. So I am now done with that. Equals 18 minus 5. 13. Okay. Now I have 1/2 x equals 13. That is saying 1/2 times x equals 13. So in this case, instead of multiplying by 1/2, I need to divide by 1/2. But remember, when we divide with fractions, it is the keep, change, flip, okay? So that means that your fraction rules that when you're actually dividing a fraction, you are multiplying by the reciprocal. So I do 2 over 1 times 1 over 2. That's just going to give me 1. So now that's canceled out. So now I must multiply this by 2 over 1. Okay? Now if you recall, I'm just going to write it over here, that when you have a whole number times a fraction, you need to go ahead and put that fraction over 1. All right? And we're just going to multiply this straight across. 13 times 2, 26. 1 times 1 is 1. And then we want to simplify. 26 divided by 1 is just 26. So that wasn't big and scary, especially because you have a calculator and you just follow those rules. It's just very important to know that when you're dealing with a fraction in that instance, about your fraction rules with dividing fractions. All right, so now we have down here 5 equals x over 2 minus 3. All right, so they kind of switch the order slightly, and they put the answer in front. This doesn't matter. You're still going to solve it the same way. Okay? And our constant is, pick a color. Our constant is minus 3. So we're going to do the opposite of subtracting 3, and we're going to add 3 to both sides. Okay? So now I'm just going to, solve what I have. 5 plus 3 is 8. Equals, and then I have x over 2. Okay, there's 2 ways you can write this. You can leave it as x over 2, or you can make it 1 over 2x. Same thing. I'm going to leave it as x over 2 because it doesn't bother me that way. All right, but it could be possible that you could see it as 1 over 2x. So I want you guys to be mindful of that. But you have x over 2. Okay? So this is saying 8 equals x divided by 2. Okay? So we want to do the opposite. Instead of dividing by 2, I'm going to multiply by 2. Still on both sides of my equal sign. So 2 times 8 is 16. And then that will cancel out just to give me 1. And 16 equals x. All right, let's get to our last example. Negative 5 plus 4x equals 11. Okay, so we start by drawing that line to create some division for us. Let's see how this color works. So we have negative 5 plus 4x equals 11. All right, so our constant in this case is negative 5. So I'm going to do the opposite. And I'm going to add 5. Both sides of the equal sign. Negative 5 plus 5 gives me 0. So that's gone. So now I just have a positive 4x. Then I have 11 plus 5 equals 16. Now this is saying 4 times x equals 16. And your minds may automatically know what that is. You may fill it in. But mathematically, we're going to demonstrate that. So it's saying 4 times x. So again, I need to do that inverse, aka that opposite operation. So instead of multiplying by 4, I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides of the equal sign. This leaves me with x equals 16 divided by 4 is 4. And that is my answer. That in a nutshell is solving two-step equations. The more that you practice doing it, the better that you'll be. The key word is just to do the opposite of what is presented.